Warning: the following video contains explicit language, which may be offensive to some viewers or inappropriate for children. The content within this video is intended for mature audiences only.
Are you ready?
Donald Trump just got a Labor Day shock that he was not expecting in Buena Vista, Virginia. As Aaron Frischner puts it, the kind of place that hasn't always had a strong Democratic presence in the election seats. That's an understatement. But at today's Labor Day parade, it was very different. Take a look right here as Glenn Youngkin, who was stumping for Donald Trump, gets booed and drowned out with chants of "We're not going back." Here, watch this.
Comment is, I think all of you should move over here and all of you should move over there because you all are sitting on the wrong sides. This is right and that is left.
Again, just take a look at that crowd there, filled in Buena Vista, Virginia, of all places, with Vice President Kamala Harris and Governor Walz apparel. Something is brewing, and it is hope and joy. Here, watch this.
For years, insurance companies could discriminate against you because
Now let's take a look at what Donald Trump's been posting and doing on Labor Day. He sent the following email to those on his listserv. It says, "Official presidential pin." And then when you open it up, here's what pops up. Official presidential pin featuring America's favorite president, Donald J. Trump. It is the American flag with Donald Trump's name desecrating it. That's not how the American flag should ever be positioned at all, with anybody's name on it, yet alone someone who tried to overthrow our democracy. I mean, just looking at that flag does not belong to you, Donald Trump. It belongs to we the people. And that's what you're sending on Labor Day to your supporters. How culty can you get? On the other hand, Vice President Kamala Harris posted the following message. On Labor Day, we honor workers, unions, and the entire labor movement, fighting for fair wages, good benefits, and safer working conditions for all. As president, I will always stand with workers because when unions are strong, the middle class is strong. And when the middle class is strong, America is strong. Vice President Kamala Harris also posted the following message. When I am president, we will pass the PRO Act and end union busting once and for all. So as I always say, words are cheap though. See what these politicians are actually supporting. What legislation are they supporting? Vice President Kamala Harris has stood on the picket lines with workers. She's supported unions her entire career. She's gone after corporations for price gouging and corporations that screwed over workers. On the other hand, Donald Trump appointed to the Labor Relations Board the most anti-labor people. Donald Trump's cabinet was made up of people who attacked labor over and over again. Donald Trump has praised Elon Musk's tactics of firing workers for striking. Donald Trump and J.D. Vance have blocked the PRO Act from becoming law, which would help unions. So there's actually a way we can test what it is that these politicians are saying by looking at their actions. Now, I want to show you what is the leader of the Republican Party. In addition to Donald Trump, he has his daughter-in-law, Lara Trump, running the Republican National Committee, the head of the RNC. What is Lara Trump doing on Labor Day? Oh, she just released her new music video for her song. This has been a major priority of the RNC. This is what the Republican Party has become. Let's take a look at what former President Barack Obama is doing, not making music videos or singing songs. He's posting the following: on Labor Day, we celebrate the generations of American workers and their families who keep our country going, and the unions who fight for the rights and opportunities they deserve. We owe them our gratitude and support. Because it's Labor Day as well, I want to share with you, of course, what the president of the United Auto Workers Union, Shawn Fain, said and about Donald Trump. Here, play this clip.
For the UAW and for working class people everywhere, this election comes down to one question. Which side are you on? On one side, we have Kamala Harris and Tim Walz, who have stood shoulder to shoulder with the working class. On the other side, we have Trump and Vance, two lapdogs for the billionaire class who only serve themselves. So for us in the labor movement, it's real simple. Kamala Harris is one of us. She's a fighter for the working class. And Donald Trump is a scab. That's not just my opinion. That's a fact.
It's a powerful clip. Show you this photo right here of firefighter union workers over at the Boston Firefighters Union conference from earlier in the week when J.D. Vance was booed. Remember when J.D. Vance said that he's so pro-worker and he and Donald Trump are, and he got booed by the firefighter union's workers? Here, play this clip.
President Trump and I are proud to be the most pro-worker Republican ticket in history. And I want to talk about why we're fighting for working people, why we're going to fight for unions and non-union alike. Now, our enemies and a lot of Democrats call us populists, like it's something of an insult.
Yeah, that happened earlier this week. So take a look at what Donald Trump and his surrogates have been doing as well. I just noticed this one pop up on my feed. If you go on X right now, it's basically become an entire right-wing cesspool of disinformation at this point. And if you want to test my characterization of it, here's the leader of that platform, Elon Musk, right here. And so in response to a post yesterday where Vice President Kamala Harris says, Donald Trump vows to be a dictator on day one, we won't let him, Elon Musk posts an AI image of Vice President Kamala Harris dressed in a older Soviet garb, a la Stalin. And Elon Musk goes, Kamala vows to be a communist dictator on day one. Can you believe she wears that outfit? And of course, Elon Musk and Donald Trump doing things like that is highly offensive. Donald Trump made a post like this yesterday where he posted a photo that I guess is supposed to make Vice President Kamala Harris look like Stalin, but it makes her look like Super Mario. And Donald Trump would be Bowser in that in that equation. But it also goes to show you how desperate they are and how stupid they think we the people are, how dumb they think we the American people are, who are going to be looking at that and go, oh, wow, she's really dressed like Stalin. It shows the threats posed by artificial intelligence in the hands of actual wannabe dictators like Donald Trump and his surrogates who want to have an authoritarian on us. But the bottom line is that Vice President Kamala Harris is someone who has devoted her life to public service, and Donald Trump's on tape saying he wants to be a dictator on day one. I mean, he says it. I mean, here's Donald Trump saying it.
We love this guy. He says, you're not going to be a dictator, are you? I said, no, other than day one.
And again, someone who says they want to be a dictator on day one, or a dictator ever, should never be the leader of the United States of America. We don't believe in dictators for 1 day, 5 days, 100 days, no day.
Hey everyone, it's Jeff. Everybody's here. Hope you had a great Labor Day. And as you can see, Trump didn't have such a good Labor Day. Kamala's message is getting out to the people in the country, and now they're showing up at Trump's rallies, heckling him and screaming, "We won't go back." And I don't know what Trump thinks about that, except it's probably the last thing he wants to see at his own rally. But the evidence is piling up in front of him that he's falling behind here at Kamala in some areas, and momentum is still building for her. And there's a huge tsunami on the way, which MAGA seems blind to, because they don't want to acknowledge the fact that there's a chance Trump could lose this thing now, where they thought they had it before at the start of the year, and now it's all different. The game is different. The opponent is different, okay? And it makes a difference in a campaign who you're going up against. And since Trump's biggest weakness, I think, is women, because he's harmful to them, he doesn't respect them, and he just looks at them only in one fashion, as sex objects. And if they don't do what he wants, he trashes them. It's going to be very hard for him to pull that shit with Kamala in a debate when she starts to corner him on things that he lies about. So he's really going to have a hard time there this coming debate here, and I wouldn't be surprised if at the very, very last second he decides, I'm not doing it. He just might lose his courage, because he has so little of it, that he just might lose his courage and just not do it. He's already backed out of it twice, and he keeps changing his mind after, but he's likely to do it again. 3 times a charm, right? As far as J.D. Vance goes, I think he'd be stupid enough to go ahead with his debate. He's such an arrogant little shit that he thinks he knows better than someone who's got 3 times the experience about things than he does. It's like me joining the military and telling a general, 4-star general, how he ought to be doing his job. That's what I see J.D. Vance as, this fucking little guy who just joined the military, and he's going up against the big shot, trying to bark up his tree. Good luck with that, JD. Good luck with that, because you really don't know what you're in for. But if you think you're smart enough and man enough to go up against J.D. Vance, and by all means do it, okay? Because it's going to be an education. It's going to be an education. So, anyway, yeah, so, today's Labor Day, and it's a time where, people, think about, the history of labor in this country, and how it's struggled a lot over the decades, way back, over the decades for workers, because look, people don't like to be treated like they're just robots, They work because they need money, for one thing, okay? Because they got bills. You know, living in this country is not free. Everybody does what they do because they need the money, and it's like a cycle, you know. And they need that money because they got dreams, they got ambitions, they got ideas, things they can do the money with. But it has to go beyond just hand to mouth, you know what I'm saying? You can't be making money just to survive. You know, people have to have a quality of life as well, which means, yes, they pay their bills, they buy their food, okay, you get the necessities, the essentials. The rest, they can put aside for that dream or whatever idea they have for their future or their children's future, okay? And that's what, you know, that's what really what creates the union. It's not so much that they have a union because, you know, people just want a union, okay? They have a union because in the beginning, the bosses and all that didn't want to pay the workers a decent wage, okay? At the beginning, as it is still today, the bottom line, the profit margin is more important because they look at their company, you know, whatever their people are working at, as a way for them, the people at the top, to make profit. Yeah, sure, they hire people out, but that's as far as it goes with them, as their responsibility to the worker. Just pay them what they, you know, a wage. Okay, they don't think first, you know, like, okay, so is that wage going to be enough to buy their food or anything like that? They don't think about that. What if they get hurt on the job? I mean, how are they gonna afford that? I'll lose a worker. You know, I'll have to find somebody else. You know what I'm saying? They don't think of that either. Okay, so the thought of somebody working for them in a company is really just that, work. You know, they don't care about health benefits. They don't care about, you know, if you're pregnant, you know, or something. They don't care about any other desires you have, or needs that you have, so that way you have a quality of life. You see, they don't give much thought to that. They never have, because they're all self-centered. It's all about them, the people at the top. It's about them, how they do things, and how they can get more money for people who buy their stock. So the workers have always been at a tug of war with the CEOs in our country, to give more for the people that work for you. Show some regard that we're essential, because without any of us, you'd have to do all that yourself. And how many CEOs do you think are going to get their hands dirty during all the legwork that has to be done to keep the machine of the company going? You know, Jesus. I mean, I think, you know, my grandmother, okay, my mother's mother, she worked at the paper mill in Old Town. That was the only job she ever had. I mean, well, no, I'm sorry, I take that back. She had a job working at a middle school, but that was much later in life, okay? After, you know, she got that, I don't know why she needed it, but she just wanted a little job later on when she was like, you know, 70-something years old or something. But for most of her life, she worked at that mill, okay? Now, my father worked at that mill too when he was 20, 21 years old. So I think this was either just after I got born or before, but he used to tell me that he'd watch her work at that mill. And he said that everybody in that mill, and most of the people working on the assembly lines, or whatever the hell they call it, you know, where the toilet paper is going by and other things, it was so hot in that goddamn place, they didn't have any fucking air conditioning, okay? And he says he remembers people just passing out on the line, okay? And somebody coming to pick them up. They just made them work, and he said the fucking bosses would come downstairs and crank the machine up to make it go faster. And it was like 100 and something fucking degrees inside that mill. And that was back in 1971, 1970, okay? So I'm not talking about the 50s here. This was, you know, more recent, you know. Well, at least like I say recent because I was born in 71, but, this was going on back then, here in Old Town, but, yeah, I mean, it was tough work, and she used to work 12-hour fucking days in that goddamn place. Now, granted, she used to make a lot of money from that job, okay? I'm not going to say that they didn't pay well. They did pay well. Everybody that graduated high school would try to get a job at that fucking mill because they knew they got good money, but they busted their ass to get it, okay? Now, they did have a union there. At the time, I don't know if she had it, if there was a union there when she was working there, okay? But later, my uncles who worked there, they did have a union, okay? And they used to have their meetings and stuff like that, and once in a while they'd have I don't know if we'd call it a strike, but they would come together to ask for like more benefits or something like that, whatever, that's what the unions do, okay? And that's what they would do, and and they needed that in order to get the money that they needed to survive. Now, at that time when you drove through Old Town, a lot of people who worked at the mill had really nice homes, okay? Some had campers and some had, a summer home out on Pushaw Lake. I think, two of my uncles had one. And, they got a lot of stuff. They got a lot of money. It was good money, like I said. But boy, those guys, I mean, they looked always tired. And it seemed bad because it seemed like they couldn't really enjoy themselves so much after when they weren't working, and it kind of spoiled them. I mean, not spoiled them, but it kind of ruined their appreciation of life. It seems like they couldn't really say that they enjoyed living, even though they had all these things. It was just something, and I think, a lot of times it was that kind of feeling that got people really, in need of having things change, as far as work goes and stuff, so people could have a little more time with their wives or kids and stuff like that, so, yeah, I mean, so that's what I'm saying, if there was no union at that time, I don't know if things ever would have got any better over there at that mill. I mean, it was pretty tough there, even in the 80s and stuff, working there, for my uncles and stuff like that. It was just, it was a challenge, to work at a place like that. Now, eventually it closed, and when it did, a lot of places just vanished with it because, Christ, they depended on that mill money to keep the small businesses going. And once they shut that down, I mean, Old Town really kind of got crippled there for that. But unions are really important for people, and even if they get good wages, okay, they still need that union there because everybody's life is charting a different path, and things will come up that a job isn't going to really be able to, or the money you're getting from a job isn't really going to be able to help you, okay? And unless you try and go to your boss or something to negotiate for something, to help with that, the absence of what you need is going to probably plague you the rest of your life. And it seems like there's really a need, for employers to take an interest in people that they employ to make sure that, hey, you doing okay, and everything, and, is there something happening, or is it health-wise? Because if you value your workers, you'll care about what goes on with their lives, because look, something could happen, you lose that worker, you don't just lose the worker, you lose the experience, you lose the quality of work that person learned all the time when he was on the job. It sets things back a little bit, okay? And it's like losing a tooth in a fucking gear. One missing tooth in a gear could really fuck your motor up on, you know what I'm saying? It's just that simple. And you have to appreciate the mechanics of your business by taking an interest in your workers, and you can't just shut yourself off from them like so many CEOs do these days. They don't care, a lot of them. They got a wall between them and the employees, and they don't want to hear or see them at all. Okay, all they care about is what they got on their accounts and stuff like that. But that's really what it boils down to in today's world with that, and how labor really, like I said, is this constant, you know, tug of war, this constant butting of heads, so that way workers can be treated fairly in the times they're living in. And like I said, the wages are always lower than the cost of living. I mean, they have to come together closer than that. The gap between being able to live and what you're getting for pay, a minimum wage, we got to close that some. Okay, we got to close that some, and plus we got to put a little more control over the industries that are out there, so that way they don't try to manipulate prices anymore and stuff like that, and make it harder again for people to feed themselves. You know, these are all things that Kamala Harris and Tim Walz have been talking about. You know, that's why they're so pro-union, because they understand that. They talk to these people. They don't go talk to the CEOs so much, because hey, you know, they're doing fine. The people that are having problems are the middle and the low income people. Okay, those are the ones that they're talking to, because hey, without them, without that great foundation that's there, okay, if you're going to let that turn to sod, everything else on top is just going to collapse right in on it. Okay, I mean, that's just that's really kind of I know a metaphor, but you know, it's really kind of what it is. I mean, without a good foundation, you can't build anything on it. You can't even build a house on ground that ain't stable. People do it all the time, but you know, I'm just saying, you want a house that stands and stands strong, you want a damn good foundation to put it on. Well, that's your working class. That's your foundation. Educate them, train them. You know what I'm saying? That's why you got to invest in those things. Invest in education in this country. Invest getting people into jobs that we need. You know, like there's a shortage of doctors and nurses and stuff like that. We need to try to motivate, you know, our people or our youth into going into those fields, so that way we can shore up the shortages in those things. There's no need of that. Okay, no excuse for not having enough people in these things. Christ, we've got 360 million fucking Americans in this country. We got to be able to get some of these people into these slots that are needed. And the more people that are in it, the less stress there's going to be on the whole system overall, right? So we have to do something about that. All right, let's go to commercial break. We'll be right back.
This is me.
This is me.
This is me!
This is me.
I'm Alex Curtis. I'm a lobsterman in Maine, and this is me.
I'm Ruth McLaughlin, and this is me.
I'm Eric Hopkins. I'm an artist, and this is me.
This is me.
Me.
This is me.
This is me.
This is me.
At the end of the journey, the main thing is you. Original.
What will you learn, Donald? They're all against you.
You might have seen a couple of days ago Donald Trump's already dwindling crowd get even smaller.
Even the spy Mitch McConnell and Karl Rove sent to keep an eye on you. Chris LaCivita likes them, knows them, worked for people like Mitch McConnell and Bush for decades.
And a new poll indicates Harris is surging in the Sunbelt states.
He didn't want to work for you, but it seems like he's still working for them, giving you bad advice, steering you wrong.
Donald Trump supporters are now either dressing up his empty seats at his rallies, or the guy has a serious problem getting people to show up for him.
Embarrassing you. J.D. Vance, he let you choose that embarrassment, costing you money. And if you didn't win, he's just fine. He goes back to working for Karl Rove or Mitch McConnell or the rest of the establishment GOP who hate you because you're paying Rove's guy, McConnell's guy, and he doesn't believe in you at all.
Driver's license, registration.
Here you go, sir. How's your day going?
That's your daughter?
Sure is.
Abigail, right?
How do you know?
Were you about 8 weeks pregnant? So you've been spotting recently. You've had any cramps or nausea?
That's personal.
You been taking your prenatal vitamins?
Excuse me?
Are you ticketing me for something?
Where are you heading, Abigail?
To go see my older sister, Natalie.
Well, that's strange. 'Cause it says here that Natalie's at a concert in Dallas. And your navigation is set to a women's health clinic in one of those abortion states.
We have the right to travel.
Not anymore. Step out of the car.
Please, officer.
Both of you out now. You, sir, are under arrest for crossing state lines to obtain an abortion for a minor under your care. And you, young lady, well, you're under arrest for evading motherhood.
Be a part of the entertainment value of a lifetime.
I loved it.
It was the best performance I've seen in a lifetime.
I loved the show. I liked it very much. He's a very entertaining man. It's well worth the money.
Now appearing in Charlottetown, coming to Halifax November 6th to the 18th, and St. John November 20th through the 26th.
are you forcing your lifestyle over on me?
Who's forcing you to be gay?
Joe Biden and his crew.
This MAGA moron's last two brain cells are fighting to the death, and thankfully the good liars captured it all.
Joe Biden's forcing you to be gay?
No, not forcing me. Make sure you get that right. I ain't gay and ain't got nothing to do with it, okay? Don't ask me.
Well, if you're so brainwashed into believing Joe Biden of all people is forcing people to be gay, it does seem like being gay is what it is all about. For posturing as such a tough guy, right?
No, but I thought you're saying he's forcing you. He's forcing you to be gay, or he's forcing you to be. What's he forcing?
The whole party is forcing their lifestyle over onto us. Period.
Nobody's forcing you to be gay. It's just so people can live the life how they want to live without persecution.
Jason Selvig is spot on with this response, and this bit is especially ironic coming from someone who has seemingly bought everything that the Republican Party has sold him over the years.
The church is supposed to direct the government. The government is not supposed to direct the church. That is not how our founding fathers intended it. And I'm tired of this separation of church and state junk that's not in the Constitution. It was in a stinking letter, and it means nothing like what they say it does. The church is supposed to direct government, not the opposite way. The church is supposed to influence government. And we need to be so involved in what is going on in our government. I mean, the Bible says that the government rests on his shoulders, on God's shoulders.
And I believe that Republicans need to prove to the American people that we are the party of American nationalism and Christian nationalism. I'm a Christian. I have no problem saying I'm a Christian nationalist. And I think that's an identity that we need to embrace.
So you see, I also call myself a Christian nationalist. And that's not a bad word. That's actually a good thing, right? And there's nothing wrong with leading with your faith, because we should lead with our faith. Because if we're doing that, then we're doing the right thing. It doesn't mean we're perfect, it just means we're doing the right thing.
And when you have lunatics like this holding real positions of power, the threat becomes even more real than it already is. This is logic that underlies all forms of bigotry that have their roots in religious beliefs. Religious doctrine is just used as a shield to deflect away from any critical thinking outside of whatever specific religious system you're following. And we're seeing the effects of this play out in real time.
Education for our children, okay?
Yeah.
That it's okay to be that way, and it's not. It's ungodly. Period.
But you're saying like...
Period. There's no answer. There's no more question to that. Period.
Because in Leviticus...
It's ungodly, friend.
Okay. So in the Bible, in Leviticus, it says, if a man lives with a man, he should be put to death. Also...
You be careful, okay?
Also in Leviticus...
We're going to go to eternity, and we're going to answer for all this right here.
I look forward to it.
Right.
Also in Leviticus, it says, if you spill your seed, you need to give 2 turtle doves to a pastor, a priest. Spill your seed meaning ejaculate. Have you given turtle doves to priests or pastors like it says in the Bible?
No.
You haven't?
No.
This is what the face of defeat looks like, and exactly why it's so asinine to take anything that the Bible says is fact. Yes, there are a ton of beneficial lessons to be learned from it, and any other religious text for that matter, but all these people do is cherry pick certain passages and stories that justify the hatred they already possess.
What's one thing that you loved about his presidency when he was presidency that helped your life?
Well, I'll be very honest with you. I am all about biblical, civical truth. And he was too. He believed in one man, one woman for marriage. He did not believe in abortion. He did not believe in the LGBTQ, whatever they're doing. He wasn't trying to destroy America, but build it up according to the principles of the Bible. If you truly believe in the biblical principles, you do not advocate for same-sex marriage. You do not advocate for abortions. You do not advocate for anything that God created one man and one woman. That's a DNA. That DNA will always exist within that human being. It's this world that makes their minds believe different. And he goes along with it.
But what if you have a child who was born gay and
He is not born gay. He is born either a male or he is born either a female. It's the world.
No, I'm not saying that he's not male. I'm just saying that he's gay, his sexual orientation.
That is something that he mentally is indoctrinating himself to believe that.
So he's not born.
He is not. No, you cannot. Your DNA. You cannot change your DNA.
No, I'm not saying your DNA. I'm not at all saying anything about.
Well, but that DNA is developed inside the womb of a mother, and after you're born, that's what it is. It continues that way. It does not change.
Well, so for example, my gay friends say that they were born gay, and you say that they weren't. They're males and females.
I disagree with that. They are not born. They don't know as a child that they are gay.
No, I'm not saying as a child. I don't know what age they are, but it's part of them as the same way heterosexuality is part of me.
Because that's what they want to believe. They want to be a part of what is not created by God.
All right, welcome back. So quite a little clip there, huh? MAGA and the religious MAGA, abortion, gays, and how that one woman takes all her source material from the Bible to justify how she feels about gays and abortion. Nothing unique about that. I've run across people like that myself. There's a lot of them, okay? There's even Democrats, believe it or not, that talk like that, okay? It's because religion is such a big influence in America, okay? It's part of a lot of people's lives. Now, there's a lot of different religions, but I'm just saying religion, in general. It's a big thing in everyone's lives. Some people, I would say that not believing in God could be considered a religion in itself, because it requires a certain belief system that justifies how you feel about that, just as there's a certain belief system that justifies how you believe there is a God, okay? The faith can work both ways, There's faith there is a God, and then there's faith that you think there isn't one, I don't know. It's when it comes to believing in things, it's an open field, okay? People can believe in just about anything they want, okay? Even if they want to believe they won an election when they lost, that's fine. There's no law that says you can't believe what you want, okay? But when you take your belief and you try to manipulate other people to think as you do, or twist their head, the way they think, to make you the person that's right and they're wrong, what you're doing there that's manipulation, okay? And that creates antagonism, that creates strife, it gets people mad, and before you know it, there's an argument. And people, like Tim Walz says, mind your damn business, okay? That's really a good thing to live by in our world, because there's so many people with so many different ideas, so many different beliefs, and they all have their own passions, their own futures that they're working to have. It's easy to criticize people who aren't doing what we're doing, right? Sure, I can criticize you, for not liking what I like, but I'm more mature than that. I don't give a shit. If you like something that I don't, fine. I can't talk to you about it because I don't know anything about it, but I can't, I'm not going to criticize you for it. If you're Jewish, and of course I was brought up Catholic, but I'm not like really a practicing Catholic anymore. But I'm not gonna criticize you for what you believe. All right. If you're Buddhist or something, same thing. For some people, a different religion might work better for them than another. I've met people that were like that. They started off as a child and living in a family of one religion, But when they got out on their own, they kind of migrated to this other one, and they thought it was for them. You know, it fit their needs better, and so they devoted their religious things, ambitions into that. Okay, certainly nothing wrong with that. Okay. So, you know, I feel like, you know, if you just leave people be so they can find their own happiness, then why should you be unhappy? You know, if they're not hurting anybody and they're not breaking any laws of man, okay, then leave them alone. Seriously, leave them alone. You know, and when it comes to medical issues, for God's sake, stay out of that. Unless you're a doctor yourself, or you know that person who's suffering, or a patient or whatever, stay out of it. Okay, nobody likes a backseat driver in any situation. Okay, keep your fucking opinions to yourself. Unless you know something that the doctor doesn't know, okay, then shut up, sit down, and mind your business. Okay, really. There's a, you know, Hollywood has a problem with that. And I know this is kind of a weird sidetrack here, but what I'm going to say is, whenever you got too many hands in a pot, okay, you end up with a fucking mess. And lately, TV has been like that. These shows that they stream and all that, they get like 6,000 writers for a fucking TV series, and because they got so many people involved in it, the shows all come out like, what the fuck did I just watch here? You know, I don't even know where we're going, you know. Lately, that's been like what Star Trek's been, you know, with all these different showrunners and different producers and different writers, and you know, and the fucking credits. Jesus Christ, it's worse than watching the movie Superman at the end when you see all the credits go like for 2 hours of credits. Okay, it's you know, it's crazy. The more people involved in something, the bigger the fucking mess. All right, so like I said. You got to understand that unless you have something to offer that no one's saying or something, or that it's not pertinent to it, if it's not pertinent to what's going on, if you got no knowledge to invest in something medical because you don't have any medical background yourself, then you know, don't put your foot in your mouth. You're gonna look like a fool. You know, don't embarrass yourself, because, you know, first impressions really matter a lot to people. They'll never forget that when you say something stupid, you know. Jeez. So really, just avoid that. And if somebody's doing something you like and you don't like it, well, okay, you don't like it. All right, that's fine. It really is fine. You don't have to. You just don't need to voice it, okay? But you can disagree. But you know something, you might like other things that person does that really you know makes you smile. So are you going to judge a person wholly on just one thing that you didn't like that they did? Like you say, oh, this girl that you liked, that you were really friends with, well, she got an abortion, and now you're going to hate her for the rest of your life just because of that? Yeah, you may not agree with what she did, but she's still your friend, right? She's still your friend. She's still your daughter, you know, and you got good memories with that friend, your daughter, or somebody. You know what I'm saying? It's not worth it to get so upset over stuff like that, and to drag the Bible into the discussion, only to bolster yourself. Like, see, I'm right because it's in the Bible. All right. Well, there's a lot of things in the Bible that people can say, you know, is right. You know, there's all kinds of wars that go on in the Bible. I mean, Jesus, I mean, you got Moses, for God's sake. Okay? I mean, remember Egypt, trying to get his people out of Egypt and stuff, and the shit that God pulled to pay Egypt back for making his people, right, slaves to eat the Egyptian leaders and stuff like that. The plagues, remember? Okay, well, he didn't just hurt Egypt, he hurt his own people in the process of doing what he did, okay, according to the Bible. So, you know, I mean, they say God can, you know, do anything. Well, why did he hurt his own people in the process of doing that? The point is that not everything in the Bible is good. So you can't really take everything out of that word for word as being yes, this is what happened. It's all just stories, okay? The only part of that Bible that I think people really should take and absorb the messages of is Jesus, because I think that's probably the most historically, I'm not going to say accurate, but I'm going to say it's probably more historically based on factual events than anything else that was ever written in the Bible. Okay, I can't speak for what happened with Moses, because there's a lot of interaction with Moses and God and stuff like that you know only he could say. There was no eyewitness to it practically that could verify any of that, you know. But with Jesus, okay, they kind of did the same thing with that, only they made him divine. That may not have been the way he was, okay, but the messages that are in there, that things he was trying to teach people, are of value. I think that's the most important thing, not the miracles he performed, okay. That's just, I think that's just add-ons, flourishes, or whatever you want to call it, to justify saying, oh, Jesus was the Son of God, okay. But no, I think that, yeah, there was a guy who was trying to teach peace and love, a lot like Gandhi did, try to unify the people, try to, you know, get Rome to stop mistreating people. You know, he had a big job, you know, and he was up against a lot of assholes that didn't want to listen to him, okay, and even the religious assholes that didn't like him, because he was speaking, they thought he was speaking vile crap, okay. Really, peace and instead of war, that's vile to them. That was, you know, it's the same bullshit then as it is today, okay. But you know, he was trying to do something, I think, that, you know, a lot of people tried to do in a way that I guess you could say probably wasn't quite as impactful as how he was doing it, okay. So I just think that, like I said, there's parts of the Bible, parts of that story of Jesus that are a benefit to think about. As far as, you know, the other parts of the Bible, I think when the stories in the Bible, you know, from the very beginning in Genesis, okay, when we're talking that chapter in there, who the hell would have been alive then to write anything down? Did they even know how to write? You know what I'm saying? Okay, you know, I don't even think they had printed language or printed anything for a long time. I mean, Christ, we find cave drawings in caves and stuff like that, but no words, just drawings. I mean, so you gotta wonder, I mean, geez, you know, how sophisticated could humans have been? They just weren't created with knowledge of being able to write and you know, come up with stories. These people, it took millennia to evolve to that point, you know. And, you know, so I just, you know, it's just people who, you know, a long time after, you know, who came up with these stories, okay, to try to educate or try to impart some moral story on people, you know. But some people, they take that thing literal from first page to last page. They just, everything in that is word for word literal. And there's been many interpretations of that Bible. It's gone through many rewrites, you know, over the years. And people that really believe in something in the Bible, you'd think they would reach back to the earliest writings of it first before they would commit to what's being printed today. You know, I would say that today's Bible, the most recent version of the Bible, is probably the most inaccurate of any of the Bibles that were ever printed, because look, you know, things get lost in translation, meanings get twisted, you know, all the time when languages are being translated for us, you know, like when we watch a movie and they get an English subtext as it's going. Sometimes that subtext doesn't really match what they're saying, if that language is something, you know, different. You know, so just in that abstract example, okay, that's an example of how things can get lost in translation down through the generations. And so, you know, what we're seeing in the Bible today is probably so vastly different than, say, the very first Bible that was ever written, you know, and what was in it. So these people that are putting all their faith in their stand against abortion and against gays and stuff like that, they may not realize it, that what they're standing on is a house of cards, okay? Because, you know, they may not even be aware that what they thought they saw in that Bible was probably misinterpreted from a translation from a different language that, you know, didn't say that. But because they're not scholars of the Bible like some people are, I mean, there are some people in different religions who are really, they investigate the writings and stuff, and they go back into those early pages and they try to understand it, you know, as well as they can. You know, modern people today, the average citizen, like that lady in the video, she ain't done that. Okay, she just grabbed the Bible off the shelf and she's been, you know, spitting stuff out from that and taking everything out of that right verbatim into her head. But that may not even be the most accurate thing for her to stand on. It may not even say anything about, you know, abortion being bad or something, or that gays are bad or something. It may not even be there in the original text. Okay, it may not even be there. And the Bible version that she's using is not the same version that the Baptists use, or the, you know what I'm saying? The different Christian divisions out there, they look at their Bible differently, you know. So who the hell at the end of the day is really right? You know what I'm saying? You know, it's just, it's like I said, you're better just to shut your mouth and let things go as they are than to pretend that you know better. Okay? Well, maybe for some people it isn't, they don't feel like they are pretending, right? I mean, like that lady, she really believes those things because her whole life, I think, has been on that foundation that, yes, these things are true. It's no longer just a matter of faith for her, that's fact now, okay? And somebody that challenges her or tries to rock the boat a little bit, that'd be like somebody trying to convince me that 2 + 2 doesn't equal 4. The same thing. You're never gonna accept that, okay? Because you were taught different. You were taught that it is 4, you know. But so yeah, I mean, it's a lost cause when it comes to religion to try to argue, you know, that you could be wrong about that you are living contrary to what you say you believe. Okay, that's another part of that about these religious people. Some of these people, they aren't living completely the life they're asking other people to live. Okay, they're doing some of the things they shouldn't be doing. But when it comes to like certain stances, which is abortion, seems to be the most popular thing with the religious these days, and they're all adamant about stopping it. Yet at the same time, there's all kinds of other things they're not supposed to be doing, but they're doing it, okay? And I just feel like, you know, look, if you're going to preach a way of life that comes from the pages of your book, then would it not be prudent to actually live by those standards and those rules that you want us to live by if you're gonna stand in judgment over us? Or do you just want to go on this crusade for one thing, okay, and hang your hat on that, but you end up being condemned anyway because of the other 10 or 15 things you did that you weren't supposed to be doing? How is that going to make you favorable to your God if you could only do one thing right and everything else wrong? I mean, you know, there's a lot of things, a lot of contradictions with these people, you know, and we see it. And the fact that these people stand behind Trump, a guy who doesn't really have any moral compass at all, and they think he's Christian. You know, I can't think of a more unchristian thing to do than to sell copies of a Bible with your face on it, or whatever the hell he's got his name in it, okay? You know, if I had done that, if I was, a kid who got a Bible and I just, add page in that and then say, oh, this is the Bible of Jeffrey, this is, I probably would have got my head slapped. I'm pretty sure my father would have nailed me, but good, for doing something like that, and rightly so, okay? Because that's ridiculous, all right? Trump doing that in order to help him look good for the Christian right, okay, is such lunacy, and that they accept it is even worse. Now there were some preachers out there who didn't like what Trump did, okay, but do you think MAGA cares about that? No, they don't care. And it's just the same thing like with him getting his picture taken in Arlington Cemetery, with his thumbs up. Okay, same fucking thing. No class, no care in the world about who he's stepping on doing that. That's not a man of Christianity, okay? You got to care about something other than yourself in life, And, it's impossible for him to care about anything else. He doesn't even care about his wife or his kids. His sons around. They ain't kids anymore, Christ. But, he doesn't care about his own family. He's alienated himself from members of his own family because of his fucking personality and characteristics. He's so anti-human, anti-American, anti-worker. He's anti-everything. Christ, he's anti-matter, for Christ's sake. I mean, he doesn't even deserve to be in the same reality we live in. He's just a bad apple, and he's learned nothing in life. He just floated through life, making one mess after another, and rising above it, as an art form. He's been able to dodge responsibility for the things that he's done for a lot of his life. But there's going to be a moral to this story in the end, to this guy. And I think as much as we hate this dude here, okay, we need to remember that there's a story being played out in front of us, this man here. And it's a story that's going to be worthy for the Bible. About, how an arrogant person like that can bring himself down by his own flaws, his own arrogance, his own, he'll destroy himself. And that's what happens when you have no moral compass in your life. Without a moral compass, you can't go on like this. You're hurting everybody, spitting on the world that you live on, that you were put here on this earth for, okay? You can't live like that. You're just, look what happened to Jeffrey Epstein. Another guy, same fucking thing. It's all about him, okay? That's why Trump and him got along so well, and who knows how far the two of them got with their crimes, but the thing is that he's a lesson for MAGA. And MAGA really, they ought to cling to this guy and learn something from him. I really think they ought to. They just ought to stick with him right to the bitter end, because he's a lesson specifically meant for them, okay? And I hope that when he loses, it hurts them big time, okay? Because the lesson can't be learned unless it impacts them significantly. And that's what I'm hoping will happen, is that his loss will mean so much more to the people who followed him than to Trump himself. And, I think there's no better way of, how can you say it, ridding our country of cultish mentalities than to see things like that happen, to see that, the people who would sacrifice everything for an individual at the end will be the same few people who survived what happened in Jonestown, who to this day regret every second they spent with that bastard down there, okay? And how they're trying to warn people not to make the same mistake they did. these MAGA people are going to have to go right through the same thing. They're going to have to suffer significant, okay, in order for that cultish mentality to just fade away after Trump loses. And then only then will Trump just kind of disappear, okay? Because when he's got no audience, when he's got nobody clapping and applauding to what he does, you know, he's really dead then, isn't he? Because that's what he lives for. All right, so that's it for today. I hope everybody has a great rest of the work week. So please subscribe, share, comment, and keep your ears open for health-related issues. And treat each other nice out there as we close up our summer here. And like I said, good karma comes back around when you do good things. So I'll talk to you later. Bye-bye.